So I own the central division. Blah, blah.
Nice.
Hey,
All
shit,
right,
Nate.
we are live. Hey, Veta VA. It is Nathan Ottingham, and with me is a good friend of Veta VA and a good friend of mine, Joy. Thank you for being here. Premium Credit Bureau. I I think I was started saying that out loud. I always call you PCB, and I had to go look at it real quick. I was like Premium Credit Bureau.
Right.
Joy, you've been in credit and analyst and credit. I mean, give me a little bit of background about what PCB does, and then we want to dive in and talk about these changes that have just been announced with medical debts and collections.
So, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joy Huscott. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Premium Credit Bureau. And so I own the Central Division, but we are a national company. I've been in credit on April 1st for 17 years. And so our competitors are your Credit Plus, your Advantage Credit, your Kroll Factual Data. So we are a full service provider. And what sets us apart is our education, our consumer outreach. So I'm a big consumer advocate, and we just make things simpler and we think outside the box. Technology is important and pricing is important, and that's who we are. And that's another reason why we're partners with Vetted VA. I'm also a vet. I was in the Army in the 80s, and I'm a big advocate. Today, I had a conversation real quick, Nathan, with a guy that's never used his VA benefits in his 60s, and
Yeah.
he didn't even know he could. And it was really fun to share with him. This is the steps you need to take to use your vetted VA, I mean, your VA benefits so you can buy a home with your no down payment and so forth. One thing too is I did send him to vetted VA, so I'll send you his name.
Okay.
That way, if he has
Sounds
any
good.
issues, yep.
I love it. Well, this week, or actually, I guess it was the end of last week, the three bureaus kind of came and did something rather unique. Like, walk me through what happened and what they kind of expressed to the world.
So what's really interesting is this has actually been in the making for over 5 years plus, because in the mortgage industry, what Fannie and Freddie have always approved of is that we're at FICO 8, right? And
Hmm.
so FICO 9, FICO 10, and the other FICO scores don't take into consideration the medical collections on their report and on their scoring. The algorithms are different; they're proprietary. So what's really interesting this time, and I clarified this with all three major credit bureaus. I actually picked up the phone and called every single one of them to verify that I can say that it's going to have a positive impact on our industry for the first time. I'm like, yes, 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 because that's just huge for us in the mortgage industry, where it's going to have an impact on our scoring models that we use. So that was the best news I heard.
That's awesome. So, walk me through that too. You said a couple of numbers here. So, give just a quick, like 30 seconds. FICO 8, FICO whatever's. Like, what is a FICO 8 versus?
So FICO 8 is what we use for the mortgage industry.
Hmm.
I'm just using Experian as an example. And then, so FICO 9 and 10 were introduced in the last 5 years, and they they put it all over TV and the news, and consumers were confused, and of course our industry has been confused because it's been in the works for a number of years to get the medical collections out of the algorithms in the mortgage industry. So in some of the industries that use FICO 9 and use FICO 10 and other scoring models, those are already in effect. Those currently do not use the medical bills, and they don't use the collections to determine the score. So what's
Nice.
different this time, it's going to have an impact on our scoring models that we use for the mortgage industry.
Perfect. Okay. I love that. So, walk me through kind of the big three. Like, what do we expect? When do we expect it to happen, and what does it look like when we're on our credit reports?
So starting July 1st, 2022, so it's around the corner from now, if it's a paid collection, you know, speaking of the bureaus, it's supposed to fall off. But you guys know, and I know that that is not 100% guarantee. So, but July 1st, 2022, if there's a collection that's paid on a consumer's credit report, those are supposed to fall off. They're supposed to be deleted.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll have to see what happens. So some of the questions that I'm getting on that, Nathan, is what consumers do if it's still on there.
Hmm.
they can call the bureaus, or they can actually get those. Just they can actually ask them to have them removed. It's really going to be easy.
It should be right. It's just send in one of those forms from the FTC, the dispute letters or clarification letter.
I don't want to say even having to go that route. I think it's going to be simpler than that. I think there's, I have all three phone numbers for all the three major credit bureaus. Pick up the phone and call them. I actually like Credit Karma because Credit Karma is going to add from according to my sources at Credit Karma, they're actually going to add a line on their dispute summary where you
Hmm.
can dispute that it's a medical bill that's paid, and it's going to be an automatic algorithm. It's going to pick it up and it's going to delete off of it. So I think it's going to be a relatively fast process.
So sometimes when we talk about credit, when we adjust or have adjustments made on our reports with certain lines, you don't always well, sometimes we're like, hey, they removed it, and then people are like, but my score went down. Like, what in the world just happened? In this scenario, do we anticipate that scores are not going to be negatively affected, but might be positively affected instead?
In this particular case, because we are talking about disputes and removal disputes, in this case, where the medical bill is actually deleted, and depending on how old the collection is, we should see an impact that's positive in the scoring.
Okay,
So it should be a positive impact.
got it. So sometimes when you look at credit scores and scoring models, history, right, is a bigger percentage as well as available credit. And so if you're taking something off, even though it had some history on it, but it was in a collective state,
So,
that's negatively
right.
affecting us. So removing it's going to not really hurt us. It's in fact, it's going to take that out of the entire equation.
Right. It actually
Okay.
depends on when the data last activity and when it was reported. So if it's, 2 years and older, it's not going to have the same impact that it would have been had it only been 60 days ago. So
Okay.
it's going to really depend on how long ago it was reported, data last activity, and, again, how old it is huge impact. So
All
the
right.
newer it is, the better.
So that's July 1. Now, they say July 1, medical collection debt will no longer be included on consumer credit reports
That's
and
paid. Remember that,
paid.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Paid.
And it says, you know what? I didn't even say it because it's in bold and all capitals and underscored,
It is got
paid.
to be paid. Right.
So the paid collections won't be included. Now, when we were looking at that, say somebody has a paid collection, it's still on there because it's public record or whatever, and it gets removed. That's July 1. When would somebody expect to see it actually physically off of their credit report? Within 30 days?
I
45?
actually,
How quickly
I
does it
actually,
refresh?
I actually believe that we should actually on July 1. I think the bureaus, from what I understand from talking to them, are already starting to ramp up. That on in June, the ones that are already paid, they're going to start falling off in
Got it.
segments. There's 300 million consumers. It's a lot of files. They're going to set their algorithms. They're going to set some settings, and they're just going to start falling off. But July 1st, we should really see the big mass, the majority of them completely off.
Nice. Okay. Let's talk about what the next year looks like, because then they said they kind of forecast a little bit and stuff they're going to work on in 2023. What When I was reading that, I was like, okay, so now they're setting like a floor, like, hey, if there's a collection underneath this amount, we're just forget it. We're not going to worry about it.
Right. So the floor is it's going to be $500 and less than $500. So what they're doing, they're planning for, I would say mid to middle part of 2023, that they're not going to let the collections companies or medical institutions file a claim against a consumer unless it's $500 or more. Meaning
Oh,
that if
okay.
it's $499.99, they're not going to be able to send it to collections. So that is going to be interesting on how that happens too.
Hmm.
So all those collections that are already on the credit report, it's going to be interesting. I asked that question, are those going to be removed if they're not paid? And they said most of them will, but again, consumers are going to have to be educated and they're going to have to actively be involved in getting those removed. Okay.
Interesting. Okay, so that's one where maybe you get a report, you're looking at it, you're like, okay, but somewhere in 2023 that this is going to trigger, and that's when it's like, all right, now I need to go in and do a little paperwork and actively seek to have this removed because it's under that $500 threshold.
Correct. And I can just anticipate that it's probably just because of who the bureaus are, that it's going to take longer than mid to 2023. I think it's going to be maybe even fourth quarter by the time they actually get the settings corrected. So I
Yeah.
think we're going to have some, it's going to be where we get to educate and empower. So one more note on that,
Mhm.
that third note, I'm going to jump into it, Nathan, with permission.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so this is really important too. So right now, it only takes a collection company or a medical billing facility to report a debt. So we all know the 180-day rule. According to the FCRA, 180 days is a charge off. It's sent off to collections, correct?
Yep.
Well, what's beautiful about this, and the dates on this are not really clear. They say by next year, but we'll see how this transpires, right? So instead of it taking 6 months, it's going to take a year. They have to have a year minimum time to give the consumer time to pay it and
Interesting.
go back
Okay.
to the medical provider and say, hey, you didn't bill this right. So my sister owns a medical billing, and from just talking to her today, I learned again that she sees problems everywhere in the medical collection business because the way they bill, she was talking about United Healthcare and she was talking Blue Cross. Each way they bill is completely different. And she sees medical billing having to make some major transformations. And I just thought that was interesting how she had that. She actually had a dead guy that she was having a battle with the medical collections. It was sent to
Oh man.
collections. And so that stuff
Oh,
happens.
so rough. Okay, yeah, and we've seen this before too, where somebody pulls a report. In fact, I think this happened to Christopher Griffith. Like, it was a $20 copay that just never was charged, and like they didn't tell you about it, and all of a sudden it shows up in your report
Correct.
like a collection. You're going, it was $20. Like, please tell me it's $20, and I'll hand you $20. Like, stop, don't give this to collections. It causes quite an issue. So this is awesome. It sounds like there's going to be some good for everybody, not just for veterans. This is for everybody. This is all inclusive. Somebody commented on here, and I'm just going to throw this comment up real quick. They said, a lot of people are misinterpreting that they don't have to pay that collection under $500, right? You still have to pay. You still have a debt. What's happening here is that it's just not supposed to hit your report that quickly, and that's where. But you still have a debt. So
But here's
yeah.
where I think with the medical collection, according to Julie, because we talked about that, I think what's going to happen is the medical facilities are now going to be able to charge interest, and what's going to end
Oh,
up
okay.
happening. So they're going to be able to charge interest, and they could actually take you to court and get a judgment. But I think they're going to be able to charge. I think the biggest thing is they're going to be able to charge interest, and so
Hmm.
eventually it will hit your credit report. So
Sure.
it doesn't leave consumers off the hook and not pay their bills,
Right.
but
Absolutely. Still a bill. Still due. Still
yeah,
something to take care of. And it's funny. Like, I think it was 2 summers ago or so. Christopher and I were together, and we were doing some videos about credit repair. And honestly, it's the best analogy is it's like if you're not careful, your credit report becomes a lot like your old gym bag where you threw all your workout clothes and your sweaty and your wet towels and stuff, and you're like, I'll take care of this
that's a
later,
horrible
and
analogy.
you drop it off, right? And you're like, I'll deal with it later, and before long
Right.
it's shoved under the bed and you haven't actually opened it, and then you're like, oh, I need my credit report. Where did I put that? Like, where's my credit? How is my credit? And you open the bag and you're like, oh no, this isn't good. It's going to take time to kind of go through the process and clean
Oh,
it all
that's
up, get it ready to go.
yeah, it is.
This is really awesome that anybody who's going through the process that's paid off their collections, but they're still showing on their report, that this is going to help tremendously because it just helps clean up the fluff where somebody's like, why do you have collections, right? The VA, as a
Uh,
just by the lender handbook, chapter 4, right? They're like, hey, credit worthiness is not a score. It's in the last 12 months are there delinquent payments, or less months if it's been even on a mortgage, but it's lender overlays that really kind of have the play on with like public disclosure and collections and bankruptcies and
correct.
stuff. So it's going to
Right.
help everybody kind of level set again. Just another good movement, not fully fixed, but a really good movement.
No.
Any other thoughts or takeaways you'd have to share with the peeps? I just said
I just
peeps.
have a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions the other day. Is what's going to be the consumers' steps that they can take to
Hmm.
get it removed. I think it's going to be, I don't think they're going to have to spend a lot of time with credit repair. I know Sam does a really good job, and I know a couple other companies do really good jobs. But I think this is where consumers are going to be able to just click on a dispute button on the three major credit bureaus and be able to get it removed faster than what we've seen in the past, where you send the dispute letters, you have to call the medical provider and find out what services you had, and then they weren't even billed right in the first place, and it wasn't even submitted to the insurance company. I've seen it all. And
Right.
you guys know that this process takes a long time. I think where the consumers and the loan officers that are doing these loans are going to see a quick turnaround. um, in fact, I'm hoping that we get that button to get those disputes removed, or the service, maybe even on our side of it. I see where we could probably add that service is to have a button to where they can click on and get it removed in a timely manner instead of having to do. So they're going to be doing rapid rescores, and those are getting expensive too. And so I think we have some avenues already in the works to help consumers
Nice.
and loan officers get those removed in a timely manner. What I mean is like overnight.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. That's awesome. Thanks for giving some of your Friday afternoon. I appreciate you. Thanks for bringing some of that. And for the group, give your comments here below the video. We'll make sure we can engage Joy as well on any future knowledge that we come. I know you'll bring it out. We'll have another live call if something else pops up. Appreciate you always being available. And as always, VetaVA, our mission is to locate, close with, and destroy ignorance with education and authority. And that's I hope that sounds familiar to a lot of you, because that's what we're focused on. So thanks, Joy. Have a great weekend, and
You
everybody else, we'll
too.
talk to you soon. All right, bye
Bye,
bye.
Nathan.